Is that the end? I'm sorry. You are amazing. Wow.
Hey guys, we just saw Red Notice on Netflix.
That's right, everybody. Is this record-breaking movie with an all-star cast a must-see? Stick around, because we're about to find out.
All right, Billy, let's talk about this cast.
Yeah,
Who
man.
we got?
Yeah, dude, we got Ryan Reynolds.
Love me some Ryan Reynolds. Love Free Guy.
Yeah, we got Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. We got some Gal Gadot. Yeah, I know you like seeing Gal Gadot in some flicks.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Oh, yeah. Then we got Rita Arya from Old Umbrella Academy, man.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty good cast here.
Yeah, this is a pretty strong cast for Netflix. I mean, these are
Yeah.
a lot of top-tier A-list
and
stars.
and I got to tell you something, Josh. I think Netflix finally has their blockbuster.
Oh, yeah?
No, not really. but it was pretty decent. It was a pretty decent
This movie is a pretty fun movie, even though it's pretty goofy at a lot of points. This movie's directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. He did Central Intelligence. He also did Dodgeball. I'm a big fan of Dodgeball. So
dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
that's right. So
I love that movie, man.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What'd you think about how this movie opens up? You know, this is a heist movie, so it opens up with these eggs, like there are 3 of them, and Ryan Reynolds is trying to steal them.
You know what the beginning kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of like maybe a Mummy beginning or a National Treasure beginning, right? You know, they're kind of narrating this, narrating this ancient Egypt, and there's these 3 special eggs that Cleopatra had made, and everybody thought they were fake, but turns out they're real. And where's the 3rd egg?
It's kind of weird because
narration there.
You expect like you got to get this 3rd egg and it activates something.
Yeah,
and there's really nothing about
cool.
that here. It's like it's just like this guy wants to collect the whole set for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah,
so,
right. He wants to give it to his daughter for her birthday party.
Because this movie centers around.
That's how they should have went. They should have went all kind of Indiana Jones.
That's what I was thinking was going to happen.
Yeah,
you got to
cool.
like Shakara stones these things and something happens, but not really.
Yeah, that'd been cool. That would have made it a better movie.
Well, I don't know, but this kind of feels a little bit like your Jungle Cruise and movies kind of like that, where it's mostly comedy. They throw this story in there, and it's somewhat forgettable, but it keeps the plot moving and things like that.
Yeah, I mean they did. They threw a lot of action in here, kept the plot moving, and what'd you think about those Ryan Reynolds action scenes that were probably about 95% stunt double?
Well, it was pretty interesting because, like in the beginning, The Rock is an FBI agent, and Ryan Reynolds is like a thief. So Ryan Reynolds The Rock is on the case, and he's chasing Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds is doing like this crazy parkour, Jackie Chan kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
What was funny is like there was a scaffolding that like Ryan Reynolds jumps through, and The Rock looks at it, and he's like, "Well, I got to go around." And I'm like, "There's a big hole there. Like you can't fit through there," but he's like, "I can't do it.
I'm good."
So
well, then that's when all the Jackie Chan nonsense happens, right? It was like Rush Hour, man. He's on the scaffolding, he's fighting these dudes on the scaffolding, and the funny thing is, man, I swear, I guarantee you what they did to Ryan Reynolds when he filmed that. They just gave him a crap ton, a big old stack of Jackie Chan movies, said, watch all these and do this. Even the mannerisms, man. Even his mannerisms during those fight scenes was like Jackie Chan-ish. You know, the kind of the comedy that they're in there, the way he was acting when he was like leaning back and all that kind of stuff, man. Like it was like a taller white Jackie Chan, you know?
Yeah, they gave him a stack and said, try and do this, but he's going to do it for you.
Right, the stunt devil's going to do it for you.
But we're going to use your face, so it's going to be good.
Right,
so.
right, exactly.
But yeah, it was interesting. I hadn't really seen Ryan Reynolds do anything like that before. So he was doing some Indiana Jones falling from buildings onto overhangs and,
and
all that
ton of parkour
stuff.
stuff, man. They had to do some pretty cool stuff in there. His stunt double did some pretty cool stuff in there.
I like when they're hanging out the window and they're both holding on by one arm and they got the egg. Like the egg is more important than their safety. Like this is no big deal to them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's one of those kind of movies where you don't ever feel like any of the main characters are ever in any kind of danger because they're doing crazy stuff.
Right, exactly. Well, and it just, you know, from the get-go, it's one of those movies, again, like I said, where you just know they're not going to die, right? You can just tell right off the bat, you know, they're not going to kill off any of these characters. It's too dynamic, right? These characters together are what kind of makes the dynamics of this show. If you kill one of them off, that's going to take a big piece of that dynamic away. There's no way that any of these people are going to die in this movie. You know, that's kind of how I felt when I started watching it.
And then near the end, Ryan Reynolds is kind of escaping, and The Rock, he's on a scooter, and The Rock like sees a Porsche Taycan.
That was awesome.
And I'm like, oh, here we go, like with
Another
the obligatory
chasey.
like marketing of a Porsche in this movie. He gets in it, the Porsche logo comes up. He turns it on, and guess what? The Beastie Boys,
Yeah,
song,
some sabotage,
some
baby.
sabotage on, which we've seen in plenty of movies. So you're like, really? You're
Yep.
copying this formula? But then they do
But you
something
just
funny with
copied
it.
Jackie Chan. Thanks.
But they do twist that, and it's funny.
It's a great twist.
Yeah.
We can't ruin it. We ain't gonna get spoilers on that, but it was pretty hilarious. That's probably the first time I really laughed in this movie, like real good hard laugh.
Yeah, so I was like, I've seen this a million times before, but they turned it a little, and I was a little bit surprised, and that brought me back.
Oh yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely, man. That was, yeah, that was good. And then and I will say too, kind of first good portion of this movie is really just focused on Rock and Ryan Reynolds. We don't see really a lot of Gal Gadot until a little bit later.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of tell when they're mentioning her character's name that you're thinking, okay, it's probably her. But and when until a little later you get to see her, and then you really get that dynamic going between these three characters.
And I thought The Rock and Ryan Reynolds really worked well together in this movie. Like,
yeah.
The comedy was great, and that's what kept it going for me.
Yeah.
Because the plot is kind of
Absolutely.
ludicrous. Like
Oh,
they
yeah,
have
the plot's great.
Interpol is, going
Yeah.
around trying to bust this in. Interpol is not a law enforcement agency. First and foremost,
Right.
in the real world, and they do not have federal agents. Secondly, they're more they like work with other law enforcement agencies, so
Right.
they would be working with the Italian police, for example, if
Exactly.
this was in Rome, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of weird that after this, like The Rock kind of gets busted. And so does Ryan Reynolds' character, and they ship them off to Russia. And I'm like, so Italy's good with shipping them to Russia?
Well, Interpol was the one made it sound like they've got the hookup. Oh, we're gonna put you guys somewhere where you're not gonna be happy. And it's like Interpol, they calling up Putin like, hey man, we got these two dudes. We're gonna
and
throw in
Italy's
your-
like, that's fine, just ship them off
We
wherever.
need to throw these two guys in the gulag. It's like what?
And at this
These
point,
two
like,
art thieves, right? It's like
and The Rock's like, hey, I'm a FBI agent. And they're like, well, we don't know about all that. And I'm like, you can't verify this?
right.
Like,
well, and then the way they tried verifying it and they played it off, it was just like, what?
they're like,
come on now.
you're in the system as this. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you could, like, call someone that would actually know, and not like
Right.
someone's just going to go in the system and
Oh, yeah,
change
no,
his profile.
there is a ton of super hokey, totally unrealistic stuff in this movie that leaves you like just like, huh? That just totally is not real. Like that's not how the world works. It's not how law enforcement works. It's not how any of it works.
Yeah, it's just
like, what?
kind of odd, but it is what it is.
But it's the movie.
It's a fun movie,
Right,
so you
right.
kind of
Well-
give that a pass.
When they Ritu Arya playing the head Interpol agent, what they called her in there, I thought she did good. I liked her dynamic with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, and even whenever Gal Gadot kind of showed in the scene and she was there. And what I liked about it is, this movie kind of leaves you wondering, okay, who's on whose team here, right? Because there were times when I thought maybe she was on somebody's team or somebody else on somebody's team. So I thought they did a really good job hiding like who was on whose team in this and kind of how the dynamic was going to play out and all that, And so when it played out the way it did in the end, I was like, oh, okay, that was okay. I was like, I was kind of surprised,
Yeah, and I was just waiting because Ryan Reynolds, this thief, teaming up with the FBI agent. You're just kind of waiting for Ryan Reynolds to screw over The Rock, I think. So I'm kind of like, when's this going to go
happen,
down?
right,
You know what I mean?
right, exactly. Right.
And it kind of happens all throughout, actually. So.
Oh no, stop, please don't.
This is a room full of convicted murderers and toilet vodka enthusiasts. We gotta make sure that they know you're not a cop. Don't.
Niet
Listen to me.
politia. Niet politia. Guys, niet politia. Not a cop.
And I love that comedy aspect from Ryan Reynolds in this,
Right.
where he like cares, but he doesn't care. So.
Like anytime The Rock's about to get beat up, man, he's like, oh no, don't. It's like,
So let's talk about like some tropes and other ridiculousness with this. I mean, they have the usual people get hit in the back of the head with a rifle and then they're out cold, right?
Yep.
I mean, how many times do we see this in movies? Like, if you get hit in the back of the head with a rifle, you're probably going to have like a traumatic brain injury or at least a concussion.
oh yeah, absolutely. You ain't getting back up and going.
If then someone hits you so hard, you pass out, like you're going to have issues.
You're done for a bit. Yeah.
So they have
exactly.
things like that. The security
yeah.
thing of the second egg is kind of ridiculous. And like
that's
Ryan
nuts, man.
Reynolds
That's
even
nuts.
mentions they're using 8K cameras, like that makes a difference or something.
And they've covered every single blind spot, but yet they make a blind spot to get into the room. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, you just said there's no blind spots.
And at that very party, there's like 5 people that probably shouldn't be there that are there. Like, so he's got this amazing security, but I guess they're not doing background checks or verifying anybody.
All these people,
so
nobody knows who they are. Yeah.
you probably should start there, I guess, if you're going to do something.
Oh yeah,
But
well, I do like some of the little kind of the little throwbacks to other movies they throw in there. Like, it was hilarious when Ryan Reynolds got away the first time, and he's pulling up to a secret hideout on Bali, and he's pulling up this little canoe, and on the canoe it says, "We're gonna make it, Rose." I had to like rewind and pause. I'm like, did that say what I think it did? I rewound and paused it, and I was rolling. I was like, holy crap, little throwback to Titanic.
And that's
like,
what I love too.
man.
There's all kinds of references to other movies in there. There's a reference to Jurassic Park, Pulp Fiction, Indiana Jones, Mario. I mean, all kinds of stuff that Ryan Reynolds is kind of throwing at us.
He did
so
awesome.
it's really good.
Yeah. Like the writers did really cool with that. I think maybe he wrote a lot of that too. Who knows? But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff like that in there. Like I said, that very first one, man, with that, we're gonna make it, Rose. I was like, huh? Like I said, I hit rewind and pause. Like, holy crap!
Yeah, and some other tropes that are kind of in it, like the villains just kind of show up out of nowhere as they're doing something at multiple times.
Well, some of the
and
good
you're kind of
guys,
like,
yeah, and then some of the good guys too. And it's like, where are these guys coming from?
they just come out of nowhere. I mean, they will be alone in the middle of the jungle, and the people will just come out of nowhere. And they do the thing with the cops too, like a cop sitting in the room, and then all of a sudden, like a SWAT team comes in. And you're like, what? They just been waiting out there for you to have this conversation and do the signal. Yeah, it's just kind of odd.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of just crazy, unrealistic stuff in there, but there usually is in these kind of movies, right?
There's the other thing where they call a friend. They always have a friend that has a plane, get them transportation somewhere. Where do they get these people from? I don't know, but they're in like every movie. It seems like this. Let me get my boy on the horn, and he's gonna bring a private jet in here.
He's gonna hook us up.
Yeah. Another trope is I hate this one because I just don't even see the point of it. But if you're in the jungle, there's always a waterfall scene, whether you're in a boat or a car, and they're gonna go off the edge with the main characters, and no one ever gets hurt from this. So I don't know why they keep throwing it in movies.
Right, exactly.
But they do it here.
Oh yeah.
And it is what it is. So.
But they're doing some cool Nazi style cars and stuff, right? So. And then they come into this giant Nazi bunker, and he finds this, pretty much priceless car, right? So it kind of sucks that they ruin a $25 million priceless car, but
even in that vault, there's all kinds of boxes that have English on it instead of like German or whatever. So I'm like, okay, top secret, written. I'm like, man, all right, they're using American nomenclature for this, but that's fine. So,
but they did spell Cleopatra differently, though, right?
It's like that's the German,
right? The German.
They have a guy that he says he's an intelligence analyst, and he has a silent alarm on his floor in his office. I'm like, how many people are breaking into your office where you need a silent alarm on your floor? I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
But whatever.
And then she immediately knows that he pressed the silent alarm on her floor.
She's like, oh, you pressed the silent alarm, did you? I know you're web browsing
somewhere here.
And I'm like, huh?
Right.
So,
then there's like, some fight scenes where she's just kicking the crap out of The Rock and Ryan Reynolds both together. And it's like, I don't know about that. Right? Rock's a big dude. I mean, a woman hitting him, kicking him and stuff. I don't know how much damage that's really going to do to a guy like that, But
yeah, she does a shoulder throw, which at first I was kind of like, you threw the rock? I'm like, wow.
Right. And exactly. I was thinking the exact same thing.
But that makes sense.
Later on. Later on,
I was like, okay, I'm glad they did that because at first I was like, that's pretty impressive.
How much you bench press there? Oh man.
So there are some wacky scenes, and if you want to nitpick this thing, you can. But it's just a fun movie where you forgive it for a lot of things.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, I think when they made it, they knew there was a ton of nitpicky stuff. They just didn't care because it was just funny. It was a funny, feel good movie, and and it keeps you entertained.
I think there's a ton of like people shooting in this, and I don't think a single person gets hit with a bullet throughout this whole movie. At least I don't recall.
No, I don't think I ever got shot.
I mean, from like a helicopter, firing like a Gatling gun or whatever.
Right. And everybody's getting missed.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Everybody's dying for cover. Nobody gets hit.
And then one guy like pulls out a rocket, and that's kind of ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, dude, that scene. and I think we've seen that in another movie, too. I want to say we have. Where it goes right through the helicopter doors and just goes out. It's
the rock opens up a door.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool scene. Ridiculous, but cool.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. But very cool, yeah. But, it's made for a good little action scene in it. But, yeah, man. Then how about towards the end there, man? That nice little cameo we got from a surprise famous musician.
That was kind of cool.
Especially what he does during it, right? Like,
Yeah. I'm surprised he did this. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. Right? I totally wasn't expecting to see that. You know, I was like, oh, that's pretty dang funny. You know, I like how they threw that in there at the end. So, yeah, no, I enjoyed that. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, what'd you think, man? You think this was like call this a Netflix blockbuster? I mean, I said off the bat jokingly, but it kind of not jokingly that not necessarily a blockbuster, but it was definitely a good movie.
Well, I mean, the action, as ridiculous it was pretty good, and you got A-list actors. So this felt kind of like a regular movie. I mean, I think this is like a Jungle Cruise type of movie. So yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but would you still consider it a blockbuster? Do you consider Jungle Cruise a blockbuster? I mean, I don't think we rated it super high when we watched it.
Or are you talking about like the way it's filmed and the money thrown into it, or are you talking about how good it is?
Yeah, how good it is.
Like, I would. Yeah. This is a fun movie, but I can't rate this too high just because of the ridiculousness of it. So.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, speaking of which, what are you going to rate it?
I'm going to give this movie a 7 with a highly recommend, though. Like, if you got Netflix, you got to see this movie. Oh, yeah, and I think anyone will have fun watching this.
Yeah. No, so. I am right there with you, man. 7, highly recommended. It's a fun movie. You know, I mean, I don't think there's any part of this movie where I was bored, whereas a lot of movies we've seen recently, I have been bored through, quite a bit of them. And I've said so in some of our reviews. This one, I don't think there's a boring part in it. Just a lot of action, a lot of funny comedy, a lot of tropes back and forth between these guys. Yeah. And like I said, the dynamic was perfect. Like with Gal Gadot, with The Rock, with Ryan Reynolds, with Ritu. I mean, just the dynamic they had between the 4 of those people. It was awesome just the way they played off each other. It worked out really well. So
and they have really like a pretty good ending that you don't really expect, and that kept it funny as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then, of course, they're going to leave it open for part 2 because you got to do that with a movie like this, right? So
I wouldn't mind seeing another one, honestly.
No,
I mean, I really enjoyed The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. So
yeah, so did I.
They might need a little bit. I mean, the MacGuffin was fine with the eggs, even though that's that's a completely fictional thing. But I thought they were going to, like, put some supernatural stuff in there because, like, I just don't understand why you need 3. Like, you get one. One it's probably pretty valuable. There you go.
Right, almost priceless, yeah. Yeah,
but they're hell-bent on getting all 3
of them. That dude was greedy,
completing
man.
the set.
Dude had to have them all, man. He had his daughter. He had to give it to her for birthday,
Yeah,
or a wedding gift or whatever it was. Yeah, wedding gift, yeah.
Which is what it was, I guess, to begin with, from Cleopatra or something.
Yeah, from Mark Antony to Cleopatra, yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, man. Well,
but I liked it. It's worth checking out. So
yeah, definitely worth checking out, everybody. So definitely check that flick out. Hey, keep checking us out. Hit like and subscribe, and we'll catch you at our next review.
See you guys.
Yeah, they need the eggs sitting there while they're interrogating him. He's like sitting there in the room with him. He didn't leave it in this freaking super high tech room, and then he just got to sit next to him underneath the freaking bull theater,
Tastes like Diamantopoulos.
Oh, what'd you put in it? Well, Diamantopoulos is probably the best cough syrup you can get.
That's
tasting cough syrup.
Yeah,
it's got a better taste than this.
Yeah.
Now a word from our sponsor, Diamantop.
Diamantop, the taste you love when you're sick.
That's right. It's good enough for kids. It's good enough for us.
Yeah, when I was a kid, that's the only medicine I liked.
Yeah,
you see that purple stuff? I'm like, I'm good. You see that dark red? I'm like, get that away from me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That orange? Nope, no one of that either. Give me a purple Diamantop. It should be the top of your Netflix charts.
This is the kind of movie you should notice. Well, we're about to find out.
Exactly like Jackie Chan in that freaking beginning. Like, even all the funny mannerisms, and he's like, grabs the dude's tie and puts it back on and all that crap.
Which is kind of odd for Ryan Reynolds, right? Because you're like, he ain't able to do this crap.
You know damn well that was a freaking 99% of that was a freaking stunt double doing all that stuff. Yeah.
I was like, I've never seen Ryan Reynolds do something like this. Hey guys, we just saw Red Notice on Netflix.
Yeah, we did, everybody. Is this the type of movie that you should put at the top of your Netflix notice list?
That's not even a thing. What is that, Billy? People are like, eh? I did like that interrogation where Ryan Reynolds. They're like, we're gonna torture your friend. I like this, or whatever he says.
No, I really like him. You can't admit to him. No, please go.
He's like, okay, I'm see what you're doing here. I'm with it. He's like, you're not gonna torture me. You can torture him.
All right, good.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
What freaking do with his choking fish?
Which brings us to the part where you tell us where the third egg is.
Piss off for 1,000 years.
Ah, bummer. I really wanted to do it the easy way. That's okay. I'll get the information from you by hurting him.
I'm sorry, what?
I love this plan.